Welcome back, folks, to episode 59 of the Panoramic Outdoors podcast. Today, on the intro here, we got Sheldon and myself. Sheldon's over in Brandon. I think he's resting up from the weekend and getting prepped up for the next weekend. How's things going your way right now, Shelly?
Not too bad, actually. It's right. I am kind of resting up the weekend. The long weekend is a long one for me. Pretty tired when I got back from that one, but I'm just kind of going through some more lists of 10 days worth of elk hunting coming up here shortly. So I know a few things that I did forget, and I'm just going to throw this out there just for anybody that's listening to pack it. But a headlamp, I forgot my headlamp. I forgot something to like flip eggs, like a flipper thing. Spatula, that's what normal people call it. And then today I was actually in the basement getting some stuff ready. And I found this random bag from the weekend, like a reusable grocery bag.
Yeah.
And I opened it up, and there was a buff in there, and there was my release. And I was just like, "What the hell? Like, I could have totally just not took my release with me."
Oh man.
There you go. A couple of things I got to add onto my list.
Yeah, I still got some sorting out of some gear to do here for sure from the weekend. I after our major leaving all lots of cooking stuff at home, I went to Dollarama and just bought everything I thought we needed, not even just what we're missing for the weekend. I was just like, we could use this, we could use that, we could use this, we can use that, and then that's all going into my kit, and then it's just staying in my camp kit. That way it's there.
Yeah. And where I kind of messed up is I kind of have two grip boxes. I have a camp box, and then I have a smaller a Rubbermaid for ice fishing. And so lots of my stuff was in that ice fishing grub box, let's say, and I never went and looked through it. And so now I just got to kind of transfer some things, and I should have everything. But yeah, it was pretty tough. You did some what was that, zucchini covered in ketchup cook?
Yeah.
On the weekend, and we had nothing to pull it out of the oil with.
Yeah, I was pulling it out with that cleaver.
Yeah.
It's funny because it didn't even dawn onto me until the stuff was already in the fryer. I was like, man, I got nothing to pull this out of here with.
Yeah, and I was flipping those little cutlets with a corkscrew for wine. Priorities.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it was pretty good though. With that pork ham shoulder thing that you brought, we cooked it on the pit barrel. That was freaking delicious, eh?
Yeah, man. If we want to, I think I'm going to cover the what's on the grill, what's on the tap, and what's on the record player for us, both of us, for this weekend. We had a pretty good weekend in camp, and like you said, for the what's on the grill portion, man, we did up that wild boar shoulder roast, and that was delicious, man. The thing I'm liking more and more about that pit barrel, and I had a really huge revelation today while throughout the day, and my kids are going bonkers in the house, and I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff, and I'm just thinking man, that pit barrel is so nice because you just, once it's set up and is rolling, you don't have to do a thing to it pretty much besides go out, have a peek, and check progress if you want, you know what I mean? So that, for example, that hog roast, we just put it on there, and then we went elk hunting for the evening, and then pretty much came back for supper, and it was ready.
Yeah, that was super good. I guess the only other thing you can add onto your list of items would be a temperature gauge for the meat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's one thing I did want to bring out, and we did up some of that elk meat also, and made almost elk sliders out of that. It was just unreal.
Yeah, it was pretty delicious. It was actually kind of funny because it was from Hack. He got an elk first day archery, and so he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring a neck roast. I'm like, okay, right on. And he ended up bringing a bag of kind of some scraps. And we're like, but it was looks really awesome meat. And we're like, oh, right on. So we kind of just cleaned it up a little bit and threw it in a pan with some cider and some onions and stuff like that, and cooked it on the pit barrel for, I don't know, 2 hours maybe, and then pulled them off and mixed it with some barbecue sauce and threw it on buns. And yeah, had that with some onions. It was a really good meal for elk camp.
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. And I think on the tap for us this week. I'm going to toss it into the old corkscrew division and say that that bottle of wine you brought out, man, just hit the spot. I haven't had any wine for quite some time now, and I used to enjoy the odd glass here and there, and it was pretty dandy, man, with that pork roast for the evening. So on the tap, that was a bottle of Sterling, right?
Yeah, that's right. Got a little bit of history there with the old Sterling bottle. Not gonna lie.
There's some history there. It's a bottle that kind of frequents the atmosphere, I guess you can say, between us.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that you can fill up 2 red Solo cups with 1 bottle. So after we had our first cup, and you kind of looked at me, you're like, "Is there any more wine?" And I'm like, "No, that's it." Like, oh, well, that went down pretty quick.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing that's all that was there. And then
Yeah.
on the record, we or on the turntable, we went through pretty much every song we've ever listened to in camp there that one night with Hack. And the one that sticks out most to me was when we were out scouting around and he brought up 16 Chickens in a Tambourine by Roy Acuff.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna comment on that because I don't even know what to say about that song. Such an oldie, I guess.
It's definitely not one I'll forget. I don't know if it's going on the top 10, but it might be one I bust out at a party or something like that. But we'll see.
Whose party? Your grandfather's?
I don't know what. You know what? That just ran through my mind when I mentioned that. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be at a party next.
Yeah. Well, maybe trophy night if we can put down an elk in the next few days.
Yeah, knock on wood, could get lucky. So we just spent the long weekend in elk camp there, and no success. It was pretty quiet, pretty high pressure out there compared to last time we were out. And so this weekend we're going in. I'm going in for like a 3.5-4 day tour. Sheldon's going in for 10, and then we're meeting up again at the end of the week for next weekend. Well, I'm coming back into camp. Sheldon's just staying into camp, and yeah, hopefully we can get on him.
Yeah, that's right.
What else you been up to, man? Did you manage to get out for any whitetail at all?
No, I got back when I got back there on the weekend. It was so damn windy out. I just couldn't see myself being comfortable sitting in a tree for that night. So I actually just kind of unpacked some of my stuff in Nipawin, and then waited around till close to dark, and then toured my way back to Brandon, just kind of scouting some spots that I know and checking them out for not only for whitetail but for bird season that's opened up already. So not many birds right now in my area, but there's a lot of good spots that I've found that I know the birds will be kind of in that area for sure. They always are every year. So couple good cornfields and a couple good pea fields I found. So should be a good year. Just kind of waiting on the birds to get here.
Nice. I know Tristan got out the other day and had a good, real good hunt with our buddy Tim. They got limits and geese and banged out a few ducks, and he's been also had a couple sits in the deer stand without any luck. So he's got a newborn in the household, and I think he's kind of taking advantage of a few extra moments that he has away from work, and getting out in the field a little bit, which is cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. And the funny thing, the one picture he sent, I think he put on Instagram too, he was sitting in the tree stand, like munching on peanuts, the peanuts from Gorp. And I was just like laughing to myself. Like, I'm just like, he's just probably just sitting there, like in a way, probably just relaxing. And if he sees a deer, great. And if he doesn't, who cares? He's just sitting back, having some peanuts and, watching nature like he'd be watching a game. But it's kind of cool. We get with Gorp, we're actually working with them for the month of September. So if you guys are looking for anything from the Gorp product line, they've got a whole bunch of stuff. They've got a bunch of energy bars. They're plant-based protein. There's no like additives or preservatives, so it doesn't give you like bloating or like that gut rot or anything like that. There's no junk in them. You've got your self bars, so you can actually mix it and make it at home and then package it the way you want it packaged if you want more or less. And they also have like an oatmeal blend. So for your mornings, getting up to go elk hunting like we're going to do, eating oatmeal is a good way to get your energy. And then, of course, the peanuts, which I've been eating watching hockey, and Tristan's been eating hunting in the tree stand. So if you guys want any of that stuff, go to their website. It's www.gorpworld.com and use our promo code Panoramic20 for 20% off checkout.
And a cool thing that I found out the other day, I was kind of rooting around their site, just checking stuff out, and they got a lot of cool stuff going on there, and they have like a page of where you can buy their stuff locally also, and it's a massive list of stores throughout Manitoba that you can get their stuff to. So if that's your jam, check that out too.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that at all. That's cool. That's good information.
Yeah, I actually couldn't believe how many places were on that list. It's pretty neat.
Well, do you want another little tidbit? Is on their bars, on every one of their bars, and I don't know about the other stuff, but their bars for sure, all of their logos are stickers. So if you want to pull that off and put it on your bow case or whatever, that's what I did. But yeah, they're Gorp stickers, so that's pretty cool.
Nice. I seen our buddy Jeff Martin there. He was using it as like a target for his bow. I think he stuck it on a bale or on his worn out archery bag or something like that, just so he had a spot to aim at. So that's kind of cool too. Multi-purpose.
Nice.
And if you guys, I know we talked about the pit barrel already earlier, and it just keeps on getting better and better with this thing. I feel like it's a fine bottle of wine or something like that you can compare it to, because everything just keeps getting better with the pit barrel. I gotta say, the more I know about it, the more we use it, the better it gets. So like nothing bad to say about this thing at all. If you guys are looking for one, check out their website, pitbarrelcooker.com, and they have free shipping in the US, and they also ship to Canada. If you're looking to pick one up in store, check out Lux Barbecue. They also have a list of their dealers on their website that you can pick them up. So Lux Barbecue's in Winnipeg. If you're not in Manitoba, there's other places you can get them across Canada. So check those things out. They have two styles, the original pit barrel and the junior. And we've been kind of running with both of them, and just, I don't know, just awesome meals every time. Like I said, no brainers for us.
Yeah, they're great units. And then when we were at camp there this past weekend with Hack there, and we were kind of sitting around, we threw on his elk meat, and we're just kind of sitting around having a beer, and just, and he said a few things about it. Like I don't think even him realized how easy this is, and like how easy it is to set up and cook out of, and blah blah blah. And I think he was pretty intrigued of maybe getting one himself. But yeah, if you guys need any information on them or want any advice on them, please just drop us a line on Instagram or Facebook, or email us. Go to our website, get our email address, and let us know. We'll be more than happy to give you a referral.
Man, Hack was in the same spot I was a couple years ago, or before we started cooking with charcoal with the pit barrel, because I was like, man, it's too much work, yada yada yada, and we got it set up, we got it rolling, and Hack was like, that's it, that's all you do. And
yeah,
I think he was quite surprised with like how easy it is to get going, and just the product it puts out. So that's super cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we should maybe mention who we have on the podcast today. Kassandra Aragrand. You might have seen her episode on Canadian Whitetail with Dean Partridge a couple weeks ago. It just aired or just released or whatever. So that's what we have coming up here shortly. But just thought I'd give that a quick shout out before we get too far into this intro.
I have a cool little story that could kind of tie this together a little bit, somewhat, I guess. It's based about whitetail, and it happened to me yesterday, I guess. So my grandpa, man, I was like growing up hearing stories about this massive buck that he shot, right? And didn't really think a whole bunch of it. Said he kind of took it to the taxidermist, and then he didn't have the money to pick it up, so the taxidermist ended up selling it on him and all this jazz. And then as time goes by, you kind of forget about that. I was just a kid when he was telling that story. And then my dad brings this envelope over the other day from the Manitoba Big Game Association from 1992. I think it was 92. It was their 25th anniversary. And they had sent him a letter looking for either a photo of the deer or the actual mount itself. Excuse me. And he didn't have either, obviously. Well, so I thought he didn't have either. So the letter says all this information on it, and he shot this deer in 1957, and that's about all the letter said. So I called Telesky's, the people who were kind of associated with the Manitoba Big Game Association at the time, and dug into it a little deeper and asked them if they still had it. And I said, I know this is a long shot, but you never know. And I had to call, right? So called, they didn't have it. No big surprise. But the lady there was super, super helpful, and she was almost just as intrigued in the story as I was. And she ended up cracking open the Manitoba Big Game Association trophy book, and his name was in there for, I think, spot 230, I think. And the deer scored 173 and change, and his name was in that book. But that was the 50-year book, but it wasn't in the 25-year book. She had the 25 at home.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't find it, but I don't know. I just found that super cool. So kind of puts a little bit of closure to the story for me.
Yeah, for sure. That's super cool.
But coming up to this episode, now we're talking about the largest northwestern non-typical free-range whitetail. Yeah,
so it's actually a really great story. We got to sit down and talk to her a little while ago, basically prior to the season, and kind of get the whole story of how that all went down for her, and how she got kind of started into hunting and all that stuff. So it's actually a really great story, and I'm really happy to be able to release this a little bit late. It would be nice to get it before the hunting season, but I think a lot of people will be able to relate to some of the things that she went through, and with the harvesting of that deer.
Yeah, super cool story. I was very intrigued through all of it. She had me kind of captivated there, and she's a really good storyteller, and I think folks are going to enjoy listening to this episode. So listen in, and we hope you enjoy it.
When you're recording.
We're rolling.
So we're doing another remote podcast, and we've got a wicked guest today. You might see her on Wild TV on Canada Hunts as Canadian Huntress. She's an angler, an archery hunter, a gardener, and the 2019 largest non-typical whitetail by a female holder, Kassandra Aragrand. Thanks for coming on our show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Well, just to start off, we're going to jump right into it. I say this pretty much every episode, but we got 5 burning questions for you. Chase, do you have any questions there lined up, or am I going to do all 5 of these?
I think you got them all, buddy.
Oh, here's all the goosebumps. The goosebumps are setting in.
So the 5 burning questions, we do this try to do it with every guest, and it's just going to kind of be random questions to try to get the audience to know you a little bit better before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast. But the number one question of the night is, if you're on a deserted island and you had to take one person and 2 items with you, who are you taking and what are you taking?
One person and 2 items. I'd have to take my daughter, just because she's cool and would keep me entertained. And the 2 items, I would bring maybe an axe and a ghetto blaster.
Nice.
No, you can't be sad if you have music.
That's right. Unless you run out of batteries.
Oh, there's solar panels, dude.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Or maybe it's one of those like crank up.
Wind up ones?
Wind up ones. Yeah, I had one of those before. They work good.
Question number 2. You're a big gardener. You run a huge garden by the sounds of it. What's your favorite garden vegetable?
Cucumbers. I love garden cucumbers. They're delicious. And I also love pickles. So they're one and the same.
Nice.
2 for 1.
Are you big pickle person, or are you like, when you say cucumbers, are you thinking like cucumber sando, or what's your favorite thing about the like fresh garden veg?
I honestly, like, sometimes I'll use cucumbers as chips instead of chips. So like if I have a salsa or like a pico de gallo or something like that, I'll just use a cucumber to scoop it with. I love toasted cucumber sandwiches, all the mayonnaise, all the salt and pepper. Those are delicious. Cucumbers on any kind of sandwich, everything. Cucumber salad with this like avocado dressing and onions. So good.
Nice.
Cucumbers.
Cucumber sandwiches compared to toasted tomato sandwiches are probably two of my favorite for sure.
Absolutely. They're so fresh and delicious.
Yeah, so juicy. Do you know how, question number 3, do you know how to play any instruments? And if you don't, what instrument would you love to learn to play?
So I played a variety of instruments through elementary school and high school. The flute, the handbells, the oboe, the bass clarinet, and the piccolo.
So if you could learn a new one, what would you learn?
The guitar.
The acoustic.
Yeah, well, it's more versatile, and I mean, like, you're not gonna have your friends over at a campfire and be like, "Hey guys, want to listen to me play my flute?"
Bust out the
Play
oboe.
the handbells.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. So I mean, if you can rip out a guitar, that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. If you could travel anywhere in Canada, where would you go? And then you got to travel the world, where would you go?
Oh, Canada. There's so many places that I haven't explored, and for the longest time, I always told myself that I wouldn't travel the world until I explored the beauty of my own country. I have been coast to coast. I've been like to Newfoundland and BC and like pretty much everywhere in between, but I think I'd want to go north, somewhere in the territories. Just super cool and, like completely different and less people and just the beauty of it. Like I watch it on TV all the time and I want to go so bad. Maybe I could do some hunting up there too. And then anywhere in the world, oh gosh, like my family came over from Germany, and although it's kind of not very pleasant to think about, but I think I'd like to go and see some of Germany's history up close and just kind of go see how everything was done during the war and how people live now and learn a little bit more about my roots.
Yeah, Germany would be super cool. I know quite a few people have gone there and checked things out, and they said it's a totally different, you get a totally different idea of the past when you get over there and check some of the stuff out. My last question for the 5 burning questions, you finally have some time off on a nice summer's day and you're sitting on the deck. What do you enjoy for a drink and a snack while you're relaxing?
I'm a big rum girl, so I probably have like a rum and Coke. That's so simple, but it's so delicious. And then a snack, like my go-to awful snack is like, this is gonna sound so gross. You guys are gonna judge me hard on this. Rolo chocolates with blue Cool Ranch Doritos.
Like together in like one bite?
Yeah.
I
just like the salty and the chocolate. It just is good.
I can see how that works. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not even judging. I'm just jealous.
I also dip my French fries in vanilla ice cream. So.
Pardon me?
I dip my.
I'm just kidding.
Oh
yeah,
man,
that's vanilla ice cream. It's good.
Isn't that a thing though? Isn't like Wendy's or Burger King or something have that where you got to get like a large fry and a Frosty or something like that?
I don't know.
And you dip the fries in the Frosty?
I don't know. Where I grew up, there was this little store down the street called the Stop and Go, and we'd always go get soft ice cream there and then walk to McDonald's and get fries.
Actually, I might hear about this one if I don't bring it up, but my better half, Jody, often slides out the old cheat meal once in a while and does a milkshake and French fries and dips the fries into the shake.
Yeah, she's probably like one of my long lost soul sisters. She's totally into that.
Well, right on. You made it through the 5 burning questions. I hope they weren't as hard as sometimes they are for some people. They get kind of tough to answer sometimes, but you did very, very well. So we're gonna jump right into the episode. We've been jumping into everything right off the bat here. I'd like to talk to you about that last thing I said in your intro, that you're the 2019 largest non-typical whitetail harvester by a female. And I could like to talk to you. That is a mouthful. Yeah. I gotta read it off the page every time because I forget a word. But how'd you get started? Are you new to hunting? Where did this all start from?
Yeah, so I'm super new to hunting. So the 2020 season will be my 4th season, but my 3rd full season. It started out, I got a bow. I grew up on wild game. My dad was kind of just a hunter who went out and harvested a deer for food. He didn't hunt crazy, and he didn't have trail cameras, and he didn't care what the rack looked like. He went out and brought home meat. And that was, I mean, I had 4 sisters and a brother that I grew up with. So we had a big household. So when I had my daughter, I decided that it was something that I wanted to do for her. And also, I didn't really want to like dig into what was in our food at the grocery store. And I've seen some things and whatever. And I just like, you know what? I'm just going to go get it myself. So I got a bow, went out bow hunting for like 6 days straight. Nothing. And then I told myself that I wasn't going home unless I brought something home to eat. So I stayed out there until I harvested a rough grouse with my bow.
Nice.
The poundage was off. My arrows were way too long and my draw length wasn't set properly. But I mean, I didn't even have a chance at a deer. But yeah, so I harvested a rough grouse and brought it home, cooked it up with some mushroom soup. And then after that, I was hooked. I didn't stop until I figured out all of the things I needed to know and learned my equipment and kept going forward. And then I met a boy and he is actually filmed a lot. I know you had him as a guest here recently for Dean Partridge on Canadian Whitetail. He's filmed a lot of deer for him, but he also has like 7 or 8 mule deer over 200 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, like he's insane. But yeah, so he's an avid archery hunter, and I guess that's kind of how we met, was through the outdoors. And then he took me under his wing and showed me a lot, and I learned a lot from him. He's kind of one of those strong silent types where he doesn't tell you a lot, so you got to have your eye open and just kind of catch on to what he's doing. It's obviously, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna butt in for a second here and say, like, I still don't know probably half the stuff I need to know about archery hunting, and I've been shooting a bow since I was like 12. So, like, good on you for getting in it and going after it.
I mean, there's still lots that I know nothing about, and I don't pretend that I know anything, because I'd rather look stupid and not know than look stupid because I'm pretending I know. And also too, then you miss the opportunity to learn, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. Man, if you look back to like, we'll say even like a 16, 17-year-old me who's been shooting bow for like probably 5 or 6 years, and I guarantee you anyone who knew anything about archery hunting would be like, wow, what is that kid doing? So it's pretty funny, but we were having fun doing it. We always did.
And that's the most important thing, I think. No matter what you do, my life mantra is kind of just like follow your joy.
Yeah.
So when I released that very first arrow, it lit me up. It was like the 4th of July. I was just like, whoa, that felt so good. That felt so good. And then I just chased that high.
Nice. What kind of bow are you shooting?
I currently have 2 at the moment. I have a Bowtech Convergence and an Elite Valor.
Sorry.
I shot.
What was the second one?
Guy with the bow. An Elite Valor.
An Elite Valor.
Archery.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So I shot the big guy with the Bowtech, and I had just purchased it myself. I had a PSE kind of packaged deal that I got from Cabela's, and that's what I was shooting before. And then when I seen that the deer that I harvested, I call him Hobo. When I see Hobo explode from the year before, I was like, this isn't good enough.
Time to step it up.
Something else. Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? The PSE was loud, and I don't know, it wasn't very accurate. Like, it's a fast bow, but it was really loud. Like, even when I went bear hunting with it in the spring, it was just so loud.
Yeah, no kidding. It's funny how you kind of get to see all, like, I don't know, you think you get a good bow and it works, and then you see like a different bow that's maybe better or has some better features on it, and it's just like so eye-opening how different some of the bows are compared to one another, which is kind of crazy in this day and age in my mind, to think of like how these premium archery companies can have such a drastic change between them.
Yeah, I mean, different companies go for different things. Some want to be fast, some want to be quiet, some want to, there's just so many different things. I just know that it was super cool being able to build my own bow, like just get the bare bones and then add my rest and my sight and do all that kind of stuff. That was really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so like as soon as I seen Hobo on those trail cameras, it was like do or die. I shot like 30 arrows a day from the day I seen him. What was the first card pull? Like July 13th, I think. I shot 30 arrows a day, and like I had to go buy more arrows.
Before we get into Hobo there, and Hobo is, I'm assuming, the 2019 largest non-typical whitetail by a female.
Yeah.
So I got it all in one breath there. Before we get into that, so when you're starting to get into the hunting world or into archery, did you find it like tough in any ways, like just to learn or find resources or do any of that, or did you find it kind of easy to find what you needed to learn to get going or to get started?
Well, I'm a city girl. I have a few friends who hunt. They mostly hunt rifle, and I don't know. When I first picked up my bow, I didn't know anyone that hunted archery at all. So I had a target, and I was shooting in my backyard in the city, and that's super illegal. And I didn't know anything. And then people were like, oh yeah, you can come out, and oh yeah, you can come out, and oh yeah, you can come out. And then it just like would never happen, or someone's wife or girlfriend wasn't okay with it, and then you kind of get turned down from that. So I watched a lot of YouTube and would drive out just past city limits on a dirt road and shoot down the dirt road at the target and just kind of trial and error and get really frustrated and peeved off that something wasn't going right. And then I found a guy who worked at a small shop in Saskatoon that I could call, and I was just like, hey man, I am not hitting the bullseye for the life of me. What do I do? He's like, okay, do this, this, and this. I'm like, got it. And then I was sighted in and going, and it just, I think it's though through that trial and error process that I learned a lot more about my equipment and as well my abilities. But like I said, I'm still learning. Like on my new Elite Valor, I just got a new CBE sight, and it has a bubble level on it, and it has changed the hunting game for me. Like even just target practice, it is so much better. And also too, I'm just right now kind of teaching myself how to crick my bow with the bubble level to play the wind, which is kind of cool. So I'm just kind of taking all that information in right now and trying to learn that so I can maybe shoot at some longer yardage. And it would be really cool to arrow an elk this year. I'm not going to pass up an elk just because I can't get a bow shot at it, but it'd be cool to arrow an elk.
Yeah.
Man, I love the persistence and the passion that you kind of built on your own, pretty much. Like hearing how you kind of took the bull by the horns here and just like went out, bought your bow, shot your bow, and some sort of fire ignited in you to just, like you said, go out and harvest your own meat to feed your family. And I don't know, you don't really hear a story like that very much anymore, and it's that's super cool. I love it.
I know, it just really really resonates with me too. Like Chase was saying, like getting out there and providing for your family or doing what you need to do or go hunting. Like that's like the exact reason why we decided to start Panoramic Outdoors as a whole, is to help people get outside and talk about these things and make it. I'm not saying that it's might have been not okay for you to talk to people, but what I'm trying to say is like it's super okay to ask the questions, and it doesn't matter. Like no one's gonna judge you if you're, first starting out tomorrow or started out like 8 years ago. And just like Chase was saying, and I agree with him 100%, is like I don't know half the things I probably should know, when it comes to archery hunting or hunting in general. And creating a good community where we can ask each other these questions and talk about it is exactly why I wanted to get into Panoramic Outdoors. And yeah, the conversation so far is just, it's A+ in my books.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really good to have outlets like that. Like, so I recently became part of a group called Canadian Hunters, and they're based out of Ontario for that exact same reason, but more female driven. Once I started getting into hunting and it became more of a regular thing in my life, I found that it was hard to find women who did it, especially, I mean, like Saskatchewan has like what, 1.1 million people in the entire province. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the people here kind of still have that old way of thinking where hunting's an old boys club. And, a lot of women I talk to, I'm like, well, why don't you go hunting with him? Or why don't you go fishing with him? She's like, that's a man's thing. I'll sit home, thanks. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like whatever. But it was really hard for me to find a woman that I could talk to about hunting, which was a little bit frustrating because, you know, I wanted to tell someone that in the morning I was scared to walk to my stand alone because it was pitch black, or scared to walk back after dark because it was pitch black. And, you know, or I wanted to talk to someone and say, like, you know, I harvested my first deer this year and it really was emotional for me. Like, how did you cope with that?
Yeah.
And you don't really have those conversations with men.
No, you're exactly right. And like, that's a huge thing too, is we've talked about this in previous podcasts, and we've also talked about trying to do a podcast episode like dedicated to, in quotations, mental health, as in the fact that it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to like tell your buddy, like, man, like, you know, after you harvest a deer, harvest any animal, it's okay to like express your feelings. I've been to, you know, standing over harvests that I've done, and I was like in complete tears or in complete excitement, calling my buddies, calling Chase, and being like, hey man, I just shot this deer, I can barely like breathe, and just embracing those moments with each other. And it's fine, it's totally fine, you know. But men have in my opinion, some men just have this mentality that you got to be, you know, your skin's got to be as thick as leather, you can't show any emotion, we're doing this just to feed our family, and that's it, or whatever it may be. And it's just, you know, it's time to kind of change attitudes, I think, going forward in the hunting community. So that's really cool that you brought that up.
I think it's really cool to see how women, especially I would say in the last 5 years, have said, like, we're coming into the hunting industry, and now it's like there's a point of no return. Like, now it's like, now watch us. Before it was like, we're going to do this, and now it's now watch us. You know what I mean? I think a really cool part about women kind of breaking through the old boys club mentality of hunting, and it's not everyone's like that, but there definitely is some of that still around, is they definitely bring a softer side to hunting. I mean, you know, part of harvesting an animal to me is connecting with Mother Earth and with just nature as a whole and all of the animals. And if I can't stand over a harvest and be thankful for it and thank the animal and thank the earth that it, you know, provided for that animal, then what am I doing? Then I'm just killing. You know what I mean? And I'm not just killing. And I don't want, you know, the meat that I put on my table to be tainted because I'm just killing. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. Half of the, like, I'm not going to say reason or what it may be, but like, I'll say half, like, a lot of my enjoyment from getting out in the woods is just being able to be out there and enjoy everything that comes with it. You know, for instance, this year, I went out in, we'll say, I think it was early August, to do some elk scouting. And typically not a time of year that I'm in the woods going elk scouting. Just, it's hot and like really hot. And it's just lots of bugs, and I'm just usually pretty busy in the summer too. But I mean, excuse me, I have intentions of to get out into the woods more and more and more. And so drew an elk tag this year, so I'm heading out scouting and set up some cameras and stuff. And as we're cruising around, like, typically you see stuff in different seasons that you don't normally see. So there's just like this crazy wildflower crop, and like the area that we're in, you can see like different mushroom varieties and stuff like that. And it was just neat to see that area in that time of year, because usually we head over there, leaves are falling, everything's either dead or starting to die, and it's just a totally different perspective on the landscape. And I don't know, that's, if I'm going into the woods, I certainly have intentions of harvesting something, but I'm also going to find a way to enjoy my time out there and just soak it all up if I can, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, a bad day in the stand is better than a good day at work, right? So
absolutely.
Right on. So we're going to keep on trucking here with this story. So you get hunting a little bit, and you start putting in your reps and shooting arrows. And then we've already referenced that deer once. What do you call him? Hobo? You've seen him on... Okay, and you've seen him on camera a few times. How did that work out? Like, what did you learn, and like, how did you prep to target this deer? Obviously, you decided to target it once it started to grow up a little bit bigger. And what did you do to prep for that hunt?
There wasn't a lot that I didn't do, from like full on visualizations, like sitting at red lights in the city. Like, every time I had a second to close my eyes, I pictured myself putting an arrow through that deer. I pictured him coming in from every angle, at every light possibility, behind every tree. And I mean, some of the biggest athletes in the world before their big race or before their big game, they visualize the outcome because that's what they want to achieve. So that I didn't take that lightly at all. I shot my bow as often as possible. Like I thought I was going to wreck it before I even got to go and arrow this deer. And then patterning hobo with trail cameras, and we can bait here in Saskatchewan. So making sure the bait was topped up, making sure I had cameras at all the points that I knew they were where he was coming in and off of. But I mean, I haven't been hunting that long, but I know that it's rare to have daytime pictures, especially of a big mature buck. But this deer like lived on top of my bait pile. I had pictures of him at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I had pictures of him all day, every day for months. And I was just like, if I can't harvest this deer who lives right here, I'm in trouble. But yeah, so it was just a matter of, making sure the bait was topped up, making sure I knew the area, and making sure my blind was in a good position and that was all set up, and making sure my shooting lane was clear, making sure that I ranged my shooting lane 1,000 times so that if he came in at any point between me and my max shot, I knew exactly what that distance was, so I could just put a pin on him and let go. I also made sure that I looked at his antlers from every angle so that when he came in, I wouldn't have to look at them because I didn't want to mess up my shot by getting sidetracked. So when he came in, actually, I just seen the tip of his main beam on his right side, and it came through, and as soon as I seen it, I just dropped my head, turned on my Tacticam, punched my partner in the leg, woke him up. He was having a nap. He turned the camera on, and I didn't look back up, and I counted to 10, give him time to come to the bait, and then I just kind of peeked over the blind, and then I couldn't look at him because when you can feel someone staring at you? So I didn't want to give myself away because I just have this weird feeling like, don't stare at him. He'll feel you staring at him. So I didn't look at him, and then I came to half draw, and he looked up at me, like right up at the blind. I don't know if he's seen me or what, but I was at half draw and he was staring at me, and I was like, holy crap. And I pull 60 pounds, so it's not, I'm just pulling back 45, but I'm holding 60 pounds at half draw, waiting for him to look away. And it was the craziest. But yeah, so for hunting prep, I honestly, if you can dream it up, I did it. There was one point I wanted to go and print off like a full-size picture of him at Staples and put it up on a hay bale. I didn't go that far though.
That's funny. Couple things I wanted to touch on before we get talking about that when it came out, which we just did too as well. But so for baiting, I know we don't do it here in Manitoba. You do it in Saskatchewan. Tell me one thing that you like to put in your bait that kind of might be your game changer for keeping a deer around.
Well, I can't tell you that.
Fair enough.
I'm just kidding. Peas. Peas is like when you want a deer to stay, you put peas in your bait.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Makes sense. Deer love peas. So do geese and ducks.
That's
My second
right.
question about you getting started too, you mentioned a few things about putting your cameras on certain points. I think there's a lot of rhyme and reason for putting out cameras in certain areas. What were some of the areas that you were kind of targeting? Was it trails or what were you targeting there with your trail cam?
It was definitely trails, just for the habitat that that deer was living in. Kind of through like a bushier area leading to some water and then coming out on the farmlands at night to feed. So originally, when I first pulled the first card, I put out 2 baits, one close and then one really far away, just because it's good if you're baiting to have a couple baits, because if you get one buck in that's pretty big, he'll kick other bucks off, or vice versa, or like one bait's for the does and one bait's for the bucks, and if a big buck comes in, he'll kick another buck off, and you don't want him to leave, you want him to stay, you still want pictures of him, so it kind of gives them a place where they can move around. Whereas if you just have one bait, it's going to really limit the amount of animals that you see on your cameras that are over your baits. So I had a couple of those out, definitely on trails, from different directions as well. I wanted to know where he was coming. I'm not going to tell you why, but just because of the land that bordered where I was hunting, I wanted to know which direction he was coming from, where he was living, and it opened up some more of the storyline about this animal to know where he was coming from.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think that's one thing a lot of hunters and stuff don't understand when it comes to archery hunting, how much prep and how much you got to educate yourself when it comes to deer hunting, especially if you're targeting one animal specifically. But yeah, it's super interesting. But we kind of touched on it already. So he walks out, gave me some yardage there. Like you counted to 10. How far is he standing away from you? And tell me the next few moments before you let that arrow release.
So he was inside 25 yards. Honestly, I didn't have that ranged. I just knew he was inside my 25-yard point because I was like, I'm not going to shoot a whitetail inside 25 yards. Like, they are spooky AF. You know what I mean? But he was just right on the inside of my 25-yard kind of marker that I had in the bush there. And I would say, like, from him walking in and me drawing, like, from the first moment I seen him to when I released my arrow, couldn't have been more than 45 seconds total. Like, I wasn't going to wait for, the dreamboat shot or, where he's perfectly quartered and his leg closest to you is forward and whatever else. Like, he was inside 25 yards. He was a little bit facing the wrong direction. After he looked up at me when I was at half draw, I panicked and I just held my breath. And he looked back down like no tomorrow. Like, I just swear he wasn't even looking at me. He just looked up in my direction. And then so I came to full draw. He put his head back down and I let it fly. That bugger inside 25 yards still jumped my string. So he did like a big duck. Yeah, so he did a big duck and he put his head down like it scared him. And my arrow ended up pretty high. We were recording the hunt, so I was rewinding. The only thing I think that saved me on the shot was where my blind was. I had a height advantage. So I was shooting down into him. So even though he ducked, my arrow was still going down and not straight across. I think had it been going straight across, I would have shot over his back. But it went down into him. Yeah, it was intense, man. You have no idea. And I waited an hour before I even got out of the blind to check. Like, it was the worst hour of my life. And like 1 minute I was jacked. I was like, I got him. It felt good. That arrow flew so true. Like, when you release an arrow and you're like, that's a bullseye.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, like, everything about it was just so smooth. Your follow through was great. Everything just felt so like, this was awesome. And then you watch the tape and you see where it hit and you see how but I mean, after it went into him, like, he did a full, like, 4-legged donkey kick and like his legs are up in the air and he was like 6 feet in there. And then he was out of the frame. You couldn't see him, but like, it hit him. That was no doubt. But I wasn't sure if it was too far back or too high or whatever. So it was the most emotional hour of my life. I went from crying because I was happy because they got him to crying because I had no idea if I got him or not.
That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at you at all because I remember when I shot my first moose with my archery, like with my bow. I had the exact same feeling. I went from, oh, fuck yeah, that was a great shot to, oh man, I think I missed him. But I mean, ended up perfect for me. But it was so emotional. So you just totally brought me back to myself, and yeah, that's crazy.
So I guess something that I should mention too is that like, hobo wasn't my first archery harvest, but it was my first whitetail archery harvest. So that was the first whitetail deer that I'd ever put an arrow in. So I've got one mule deer before him, and 2 bears. No, that's a lie. 1 mule deer and 1 bear. That's it. Because then I got my second mule deer and my second bear after him. But yeah, so that was my very first whitetail that I had ever arrowed ever. But so I waited an hour before I went down, and then I seen right on the impact site this beautiful red bubbly blood.
Oh.
I was like, I got a lung. But then comes, did I get 1 or did I get 2? Right? Because a deer can go, especially a healthy deer, can go a long way on 1 lung.
The old one lunger. That's
Oh, one lunger.
that's a tough one. Certainly feel the emotion in that story, and man, my heart rate was getting up just listening to you tell the tale there, and just trying to put myself in that blind and having that size of a whitetail come out. I know I've biffed shots in archery season on small 5x5s coming out, knowing that it'd be probably the biggest buck I've harvested with my bow. So was there anything that you did to, like, obviously you did lots of mental prep coming up to the day, but like, was there anything in particular that you would like focus on to say, this is how I got to keep my shit together when I see them, and this is gonna save my ass when I'm out there? Or is there, like, was it just all like muscle memory for you?
Yeah, like I feel like it was all muscle memory from the visualization. Like my friends were making fun of me because I must have looked like a quack. Like I honestly though, when I say like I stopped at red lights and I shut my eyes, I would physically pretend that I was drawing a bow back and watch Hobo walk in from any particular angle at that given moment and like release sitting in my car at a red light, because I wanted, when I first started doing that, I could feel my heart rate rise just picturing him walking in, and that's no good. And then so as I did it more often, like I would do it 3 or 4 times, like from 3 or 4 different scenarios before I went to bed each night, and that's like from July to September 15th, right? So that's a good chunk of time. But I mean, every night I wanted to get this deer. I wanted to hunt this deer. I wanted to harvest this deer. I wanted to make a statement, and that Hobo definitely makes a statement. So I think it was muscle memory. When he came in, it was like I had seen him 1,000 times. It was like I'd pictured that exact moment 1,000 times. So it became, like you said, like muscle memory. It was just second nature to just draw my bow back, let him come in, take my breath, relax, hold it on my spot, pick my spot right behind the shoulder, and then release. And it felt like after I released that I had been holding my breath for like an hour, and that I was blue in the face and I was like gasping for air, like after, but like my whole body was calm. I didn't shake at all until after I released the arrow. And like, let me tell you, on my very first whitetail, I couldn't get out of the blind to go and check for blood because I was shaking so bad. I tried to get up 3 times and fell because I was shaking so bad. So like, I know what the shakes feel like, but with Hobo, I didn't shake at all until after I released the arrow. And then it was just like crying, laughing, tears of extreme, crazy emotion, all flooding in at the same time, and oxygen because I was holding my breath. But
this is, man, I just gotta say it again. This is such an incredible story, and like your journey, although it's only been over 4 years, sounds like it's just been like some hunters don't do that in like 10 years of their career, like, or their hunting journey, like harvesting a muley, harvesting a bear, and this massive whitetail, and now you got an elk tag, and it's just amazing. And I gotta say, like, it's all got to be paying off for you from like the amount of work that you put in. Clearly, it's just like you've dove like straight into this, right into the deep end, and you're just like, give it all to me, and like, just sounds like you're taking on every opportunity that you have and just putting all your effort into it. And I just think this is so cool.
Well, I mean, after I started to become more involved in the hunting community, whether it be just at like my local wildlife federation, or even just talking to like a girl, like some random girl who adds me on Instagram or something, like, like she'll ask me a question about her bow, and I'll say like, I don't really know, but let's look at this together. Let's find you an answer or whatever. Just the community that I have now created around me, it just feels so good. And it's not just for me, it's something, it now encompasses my daughter. And my daughter, if she can come with me, she's with me. She's on the quad coming dating with me. She's pulling cards. Like, I taught her how to pull cards now, so she knows to turn the camera off first and then take the card out. Make sure you put the card in your mouth that's full, and then you put the other one in, and then the full card goes in the full bag. Like, she knows all of it. She's 5, but she loves it. And I'm like, hey, Scarlett, like, what do you want to do tomorrow? She's like, can we shoot our bows? I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, do you want to go to the beach? She's like, can we shoot our bows first? I'm like, absolutely. And, you know, but it's just like the sense of community that's come up with hunting. Like, hunting, when my dad used to bring home a deer, my favorite part about it was that all of our neighbors would come over, and you know, we would skin the deer out and it'd be hanging. And then when it was time to process it, again, all the neighbors would come over and the kids would come over, and we were grinding all the meat for sausage, and we're making jerky, and we're making burgers. And then when it comes time to eat all of that meat, all the neighbors come over again. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, in an age where we're so okay with talking to people and having relationships through a screen, hunting really connects you not only to nature, but to people again. Like, I had probably like 400 pounds of meat to process, and like my parents came out and my nieces and nephews were here, and like for an entire day we ground meat and put it into casings, like for a whole day. And that didn't even include like the smoking and packaging afterwards, but it was just such a good time. You know, you have the music on, and you're having a couple of drinks, and people are singing and dancing in the kitchen, and everyone's hands are covered in meat and blood, and the house smells delicious. And, you know, and so hunting is just, it's so much more now than wanting to be able to provide meat for my daughter. It's growing as an individual woman. It's growing as a mother. It's opportunities to teach my daughter life lessons that otherwise would never be brought up, whether it's about nature itself or internal lessons, like, you know, why we push ourselves, or why we go out and do this even when we're tired, or why we go out and do this even when, you know, we feel like giving up.
Right.
And it's just the coolest thing.
So this is like become not just like, okay, I'm going to go get some meat for the freezer. It's become an entire, your entire lifestyle, and your kind of what your life now, I'm assuming, revolves around, right?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
That is super cool. I'm just like sitting here just in a trance, just listening to the story, like how it's unfolding, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But I still want to get on to, so you get you shoot your arrow, you're waiting an hour, you've cried now, you've laughed, you're excited, you're down, you go out, you see this little bubbly blood. What happens next? You guys decide to go and start tracking it, and tell me about how that all went down.
I might cry during this part of the story, to be completely honest. So I waited an hour for Hobo to expire, and I came down, and right away I seen that big frothy red blood with all the bubbles in it I wanted to see. But about, I can't remember the yardage, about 15 yards behind the point of impact was half my arrow. And I was kind of discouraged right away, because I either wanted the arrow to stay in him and you know, kind of create more trauma and more damage to help expire the animal, or to pass through him completely. But anyways, it was what it was, and there was half an arrow there. So following the blood trail, it was bright, it was good. I mean, keep in mind, it's September, so I'm not hunting over snow where you just get this beautiful red blood trail following you to your pot of gold at the end. But the leaves were changing colors. There was little brown and red specks on all of the wild grass, and following blood was not easy. I followed it about 80 yards, and that was it. I couldn't find any more. It was like it just disappeared. So I took an arrow out of my quiver and I put it in the ground at last blood, and I kind of fanned out from there. I mean, at one point I think I even went backwards, like maybe he turned around or went the other way. I don't know. But I was starting to get discouraged, and I just kept going back to my arrow and starting from the last blood and back and back and back and back and back and back and back. And I was going crazy. I was literally starting to drive myself crazy. So I took a deep breath and I said, like, this isn't it. Like, don't give up. And I got down on my hands and knees at that arrow, and I combed through every blade of grass until I found one pin drop. And when I say pin drop, I mean a pin drop. Like if you took an end of a pencil and made a little tiny drop of blood on a blade of grass, that's what I found. And, you know, for another 100 yards on my hands and knees or crouching, like in a squatting position, just combing, like literally with my hands combing through the grass, trying to find these blood drops. And every once in a while you'd get a bigger blood drop, and it kind of give you like a little bit of directional point of view, so you could kind of see which way the deer was going by how it splattered. And while I did, I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And I was just going up these little tiny drops. And then I don't know what happened, if Hobo tried to jump a bush, or if I don't know if I stirred him up or something, but he must have exerted himself in some way. And there was just this big blow of red blood across a bush. And then at that point, I was saying to myself, like, did I push him up? Did I only get one lung? Was he trying to bed down? Am I pushing him back? Like, what do I do? And so I had a little internal battle with myself. Like, what do I do now? Like, this can't be it. This can't be, I can't stop. So I just kept going. I just found some more blood, pin drop after pin drop. And when I arrowed Hobo, it was bright out. It was like, I want to say 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something like that in September 19th. And it was bright. And at this point now it's getting dark, and I have my headlamp on and my cell phone light, and my cell phone's going to die soon, and my headlamp is crap. And so I didn't know what to do. And I just said, like, I can't quit here. And I don't know if it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but I kept going. And I got to these like little spruce bushes, and at this point, I don't know how many hundreds of yards away I am from where I arrowed Hobo, but I just found this one spot of blood, and it was a pretty big one, like bigger than I had seen for most of the trail, except for when it sprayed on the bush there. But then some blood went to the side, and there was some on the ground, but it was not in the direction that he was traveling mainly from before. And I just thought it was weird that after all of this time, all of a sudden it was a hard left. And I was like, what? Like, I don't get this. Like, what is going on? And my partner at the time, he's like, you know what? Like, we're done. Like, it's dark out. Like, we should go. And I was like, no, like, please don't give up on me. Please, please, please. Like, please keep looking. Please don't go. Like, don't give up. And you could see him kind of like kicking around the grass. Like, I've walked this spot 100 times, Cassandra. I'm not going to see anything this, the 300th time. And I just kept saying to him, like, don't give up on me yet. Like, don't give up. Like, let's keep looking. Like, make sure you're looking good. Like, let's keep looking. Let's keep looking. And finally, after a few texts with some self-service that I did have there and some convincing from my partner, it was, we should quit. And if I was pushing him, I didn't want to push him all the way back any further than I already have. And it was dark out. You don't want to make a mistake. And you don't want, I don't know if I got one lung or if I got 2 lungs. I just know I got a lung, some lung, part of a lung, nick of a lung, I don't know. So after some conversation, I was convinced to stop, and then I wanted to stay there. I wanted to spend the night. I was like, I am not having a coyote chew this deer's nose off or his ass or nothing. Like, if I stay here, maybe the coyotes will lead me straight to him. Like, I'm going to stay. We're staying. It's September. I tried to convince my partner to spend the night. He was having none of it at all. So finally we went home. Right when I arrowed the deer, we called my buddy Chad Morris, and we let him know that we got an arrow in him. And he said, I'm on my way. I don't care if it's for a skinning party or for a search party. He said, whatever, I'm coming. So he drove 6 hours. So he was home, I guess, or he was at our place a couple hours after we had gotten back, and it was the worst night of my life. I mean, it was kind of like how it was when I was in the blind. It was one moment I was sure as hell of that arrow, and I knew that I got him. I could just feel it. And then the next moment, it was I had no idea, and I felt completely defeated. I mean, the drive home from that spot that night was completely emotionless. Like, I was numb. I couldn't think. I didn't feel sad or angry or excited or mad or anything. I was just numb. Like, I just didn't think anything. I couldn't feel anything. And it was the most wild night of my life. Like, I needed some emotional recovery after that, like from arrowing him to not finding him and to go home empty-handed. Like, I mean, I'm a new hunter. That's never happened to me before, ever. Never mind with the biggest deer that I'll probably ever see in my entire life, So it was
the toll that, like, leaving an animal overnight takes on the psyche of a hunter is just insane. I can't imagine doing it on a buck that size either. So that's pretty crazy. But continue with the story here. I'm dying to hear what happens next.
So we get home, we have a couple beers, and I mean, between my partner and Chad, like, these guys have had to do it 100 times, I'm sure. Every kind of thing you can experience in the hunting world, they've experienced. They're veterans. They've been hunting since they were or out hunting or doing hunting related things since they were children, like since before they could, I don't know, ride a 2-wheeler. So they're kind of laughing and sitting back, and they're also being very encouraging, like, don't sweat it, it'll be fine, we'll go out and find him tomorrow, like, relax. Blow it off. And I'm sitting over here like having a panic attack. I'm like, you guys, what if we don't find him? I felt good, it was good, I think it's good, like, it felt good, and I just kept replaying that, like, the shot felt good, I got him, and then the next second would be like, I didn't get him, there wasn't enough blood, or my shot was high, he jumped my string, and it was just all the scenarios and all the things that could happen that I have no control over just kept playing through my mind. And then whatever, we had a few more beers and the guys passed out, and I think I maybe slept for 45 minutes, and I don't even know if it was like fully asleep. And then I woke up in the morning and the sun was rising, and I'm trying to wake these guys up. I'm like, hey guys, coffee's made, like, there's bacon and eggs on the table, like, get in the truck, we're leaving. And they're like, oh, relax, we'll get there, like, no big deal. I'm like, holy shit, you guys, get your asses out of bed right goddamn now, get in the frickin' truck, we're going. Then they just dilly-daddled all morning. Like, they were so calm about it, and I was just like, no, like, raging, like, turning into the Hulk, like, get in the truck. But not, yeah, anyways, they were just laughing at me, and we had coffee and breakfast and took off. And at this point, I think I called my dad. I called him the night before because my daughter was at my parents' house, and I hadn't seen her all week. Like, so the season opened on a Sunday, the 15th, and it's now the 20th. So I shot him on the 19th, and we're going out the 20th to look for him. And I hadn't seen my daughter, so I said to my dad, like, hey, Dad, I'd really like you to be here. I really want you to be a part of this. I mean, that would mean a lot to me. And can you bring my daughter with you too? And he's like, yeah, like, they were on their way. So they came out, met us back at the farm when we came back. But anyway, so we drive back out, and as we're driving in, we're kind of paying attention to the area. And my partner sees some magpies kind of off, and some crows kind of all fly out of this one spot, which is usually a sign when you're looking for dead stuff. And I left a hat and a glove as two markers, one for where to turn left, and then the other one where the last blood was. And we all kind of started from there. So my partner went off to where he's seen the magpies, and I showed Chad where the last blood was, and he kind of went from there. And to be completely honest, I kind of just stood there like an idiot. Like, I just stood at the last blood, and I hadn't seen any of this bush in daylight, right? Because by the time I got to where I seen that last blood, it was pitch black. So I kind of just stood there like, damned if I do and damned if I don't, like, I didn't want to move. I just want him to be right in front of me. And then so I kind of zoned out, and I was just staring at the grass, like, zoned out in complete, like, numb, just like, I want to find this deer, but being paralyzed, I guess. Not numb, paralyzed was more of the word. And then I heard Chad to my right, and he goes, there's some blood here. And he just kept going. And I was like, what? I didn't see that yesterday. I walked this 100 times. So whatever, I went over there, and I kind of started combing around like I did before on my hands and knees from this new blood that Chad found. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to follow this blood in the same direction that I was following all the other blood and see what happens. And I shit you not, like 15 paces in front of where Chad found this new blood, which was probably 15 paces from where I finished looking the night before, Hobo was laying right there.
Oh man.
Wow.
I shit you not. I shit you not. So I get up to him, and I can see him laying there. And I didn't walk all the way up to him. I stopped, and I yelled Chad as loud as I could, because my partner was way off around the corner at the time. I had no idea where he was. And then I yelled Chad. He's like, what? And I looked at him, I was like, Chad. And he's like, no way. I know, I just, like, I'm bawling at this point. Like, when I say bawling, I mean the ugliest, ugly cry a girl could do. Like, I am bawling. I'm trying to see through my eyeballs, and I can't, because they're just water pouring out of them. So I start yelling for my partner, and Chad starts yelling for him, and we're waiting for him. And he's helped me through my whole hunt. Like, it was my hunt. I called the shots, and I did it all. Decided when I was sitting, what wind I was sitting, when we were baiting, but he was there through all of it. He's taught me so much about hunting. So I felt like at that moment, we need to walk up to it together. And so I waited, and it felt like it took him like a million years to come around the corner. And then finally we did, and he was right there. And I think, like, it even brought me to my knees a couple times while I was standing there waiting for my partner to come back around the corner. Like, I was just so overtaken with emotion and he was right fucking there, man. Like, literally right there. Like if I had just said, screw this, I'm just going to keep walking straight, even though I can't see any blood, and walk straight like maybe another 30 yards, I would have walked right on top of him. And
man, I feel like I have so much to say about this story, and it's just took me on a roller coaster here, and remind me of some of like the similar situations that I've been in hunting and everything. And first off, big shout out to Chad Morris and your partner for being like grade A hunting partners. That's amazing. And I guess like my greatest takeaway from the story is like things didn't go exactly how you envisioned them going, and there was certainly a bit of like a bump in the road for you here. And I can almost guarantee you, in every high pressure situation now, when you hit the woods, you're gonna have a flashback to this moment when you draw that bow back or put your crosshairs on a beautiful elk or whatever it may be, and it's just gonna be like get you that much more zoned in and just dialed in for just making that perfect shot because of the I guess you can say emotional trauma that you went through while you were waiting to head back out to the field.
I mean, for sure, definitely. And like, a lot of people say after you shoot a deer of that caliber, like, oh, you're ruined now, or what are you going to do next? You know what I mean? And I don't know why they say stuff like that. Like, why are you denying a hunter of another experience, or making them feel like they shouldn't have another experience like that, or feel the same way they felt about that big deer, about, maybe a beautiful 4x4, like why make them feel less proud of another harvest? And so this year I'm a little nervous on Whitetail because of, comments and kind of stigmas like, well, what do you do after you shoot something like that? Well, I still want to put meat on the table. I still love hunting, and there's still so much I want to do, and I'm learning still. So there's still lots I have to learn, lots of mistakes I have to make. And so I want to go make all of them. I want to go make all of the mistakes, and I want to figure it all out, and I want to be able to, teach my daughter and teach the next generation. Yeah. So although I'm a little reserved about, the emotional trauma coming back the next time I draw my bow on an animal, because I'm worried about it. So that's funny that you said that. But, as nervous as I am about all of that, I can't wait to get back out there, because now hunting is fully who I am. Like, I found my thing, and it just makes sense that I hunt.
That's amazing. I think my thoughts on the whole, now you've been ruined for the rest of your hunting career kind of thing by shooting a monster buck, and I'm guilty of saying that too, because more in a jokingly matter, definitely not in a serious matter, but like definitely a joking matter. But the thing is with hunting is like there are no guarantees, and obviously the harder the work, the more successful you are, but there's always going to be days where like you can go out next fall and you might not see a buck that you even compare to like something to be like a mature buck maybe, and like there's going to be struggles coming across your adventures here, and it's not like that anticipation still builds up, and then when a moment comes where there is like, okay, I'm going to take this deer, it's still exciting, and it still keeps that fire burning, right?
Oh, for sure. And you know what, I mean, even the jokingly stuff, you kind of think to yourself like, oh, like, but what am I going to shoot next year? You know what I mean? And I mean, and anyone in any walk of life with any hobby or passion or goal, there's going to be somebody out there who has something to say. So, what if I go out this year and shoot a 150 class mature old whitetail buck? Someone's going to say something like, oh, it was nothing like last year. I knew she couldn't do it twice in a row and whatever else. But at the same time, I mean, do I have an expectation that I shoot a deer like Hobo every year? Absolutely not. That's not realistic. Do I feel like I'm going to strive to shoot another buck like Hobo in my life? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do people get struck by lightning twice? Yep, it happens. Am I going to go out there and strive for the rest of my life to shoot another buck like Hobo? Absolutely. Am I going to? Well, the reality of it is probably not. But I'm going to go out there and hunt every buck like it was Hobo, whether it's 246 inches or 150 inches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
the feeling in the hunt is not going to change for me.
Yeah. Circling back to that thing, like the whole, like, oh, you'll never do it again kind of idea. I know I'm guilty of it. I know a couple of my buddies that have harvested some really nice bucks, and I'm like, on their first, not saying their first time hunting, but let's say the first few years of hunting, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of think it like that, man, that's hard to beat, because like in my mind, I look at that deer and like, that's a lifetime, deer for me, and I love that attitude. It's like, even if it's 200 plus inches or 130 or whatever it may be, it's still the goal of putting in the work to make the shot ethically, to retrieving your game, and then circling right back to you talking about the process, processing the meat and being with family and friends. Those are the things that really is like goals, right? And yeah, it's super interesting how you kind of put all that in perspective. You're standing over this deer now with a friend and a hunting partner, or both hunting partners. You're in tears. You can't really see. How many times did you lift up that deer and look at the antlers in person, holding them?
So I'm going to be completely honest. It smelled so bad. So he was pretty bloated from being left overnight, and it was September, so it's not cold out.
Right.
So the very first time that I lifted up his antlers, I puked all over it because all the air came gushing out of the hole in the wound. And I'm like crying, so I'm like kind of hyperventilating, so I'm taking these really deep breaths. So like I picked up his rack and like went to turn it, and I was just like, holy crap, it was bad. It was bad. And then at that point, I didn't know if my eyes were watering because it smelled so bad, or if my eyes were still watering because I was crying. And then so there was like some laughing and some tears, and then some like happy sad crying, and then like just really happy excited crying. There's just lots of crying. I'm a crier. I'm not scared to admit it. I cry about everything. But yeah, so I couldn't stop touching him. I couldn't stop picking him up, and I couldn't stop just inspecting every inch of him. And, every inch that I thought, and it was cool to see some things up close that, that you couldn't really see in the trail cam pictures, or, he still had some velvet left on some of his drops. And, on the one side where he's all kind of webbed and there's just like a crazy amount of stickers and flyers, like he had a whole bunch of velvet still in there. And, it was unreal. It was just the coolest thing in the world to come to that point. And this is where I get emotional still. But like I picked up his rack, and the breeze was coming off the field into my face, and this nice, cool September morning. And all of that work that I put into harvesting that deer just came to a close. And man, it was the best feeling I've ever felt in my whole life. And that is why I love to hunt. And it could be hobo at that world record status, or it could be, my first deer. And I hope it still feels the same for my last deer, because that feeling is unlike any feeling in the entire world. And that is why I hunt. And I was kind of thinking to myself before I got on the call with you guys, and like, what if they asked me why I love hunting? Because I can't explain why I love hunting. Like, oh, it's fun. I get to hang out with my buds. I like shooting stuff. It's cool. because that's not why I love hunting. I love hunting for so much more. For this entire conversation, everything that I've said is why I love hunting, and more, yeah. And so much more.
Yeah. Thanks for just about making me cry. Someone's cutting onions here at my house.
So I'm looking at a photo of this deer right now. And for all the listeners that are tuning into this right now, like, it's just one of the most magnificent racks that I've ever seen. There's 4 drop tines coming off this thing.
7.
7 in total?
Yeah, there's 7 in total. Like if you look on the one side with the longest drop, there's 2 more that kind of laid out from the front. So there's 4 there. Right there, 5, 6, and then there's one on the back side.
No
of
kidding.
The other side.
Crazy. And I'm looking I can see a bit of a blood spot on the animal. And in my mind, I'm like, that shot doesn't look that bad at all.
Well, I mean, in some of the pictures, it looks like I shot him in the spine. Just because how he's laying, and like when the hide gets kind of twisted up on him from dragging him for pictures and stuff like that. Right. And there has been people commenting on some of the posts, like, what kind of shot is that and whatever else. But I mean, I know where I shot him. It's going to be like the footage is coming out next week on Wild TV, so you can watch it yourself.
Nice.
It's all there. But yeah, it was, I mean, I want to hunt ethically. I don't want to let anything suffer. And I think that's why leaving that deer overnight was, one of the reasons why it was so hard.
Yeah. We spoke on the podcast about, the naysayers and the people on social media that just love to start shit and call people out on stuff they have no information about. And like, from the story you told me or told us here, and it just, like, there's no doubt in my mind that like all the pieces were in place that could be in place, and there was absolutely nothing more that you could have done to make a better shot, right? And let's face it, there's a lot of variables in play when you're tossing an arrow downrange, and it's sometimes it doesn't work out for people, and sometimes it plays out perfectly. And if like any experienced hunter can speak to that, and if there's somebody out there saying that is calling you out on that or whatever, then they don't know shit in my mind. So, you know what I mean?
Amen. Yeah, for sure. One thing I forgot to tell you guys that you guys will probably think is pretty cool, or not cool, I guess, depending on how you look at it. So opening day was Sunday the 15th. Monday the 16th, I didn't hunt. The wind was wrong Sunday, so I sat morning and night, and in the morning I pushed all the deer off. So I didn't sit Monday, I let the bait cool. I got called back into work because at this point I was working for an egg dealer, and it's our busy season. So I made a deal with my manager that I would leave work at 2 o'clock so I could hunt the evening. So come back Tuesday, sit, got huffed out by a doe, nothing. What is that, 15, 16, 17, 18th. Pull up, park where I usually park, sprayed myself down with scent killer, filming my intro, go to spray my partner down. He turns so I can get his back. He looks up on the other side, like about 80 yards away from me. There's Hobo standing there in the field staring at me, 80 yards away from my truck. Wow. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and I dropped to my knees. And I like instinctually, I tried to hide behind the bumper of the truck, just like, oh shit, there he is. So I kind of like ducked down behind the truck, like, oh God, he's right there. And then I just looked up at him. And I mean, if it was muzzleloader season, it would have been done. It would have been a done deal. But I wasn't shooting uphill at 80 yards with my bow. But I still sat that day, but it was the next day that Hobo came in on the 19th there. But yeah, so that was pretty nerve-wracking. That just adds to everything, right? I did get to see him.
Just a little cherry on top to the journey here, man.
It was a wild ride, you guys. Like, it was wild. And I mean, to shed a little bit more light on why it was, I mean, besides obvious reasons, but putting meat in the freezer and harvesting such a trophy, it was also more of a personal feat too. Like, I had to fight with my partner to sit that spot for that deer. Like, he had a target buck he was after the year before, for a couple of years before, in a different location, and I had Hobo on my sights from the year before, but he come in during the rut all busted up, and he was a next year buck at that point. And then when we seen what he was, it was all of a sudden, well, we're going to set up 2 stands, and I'm going to hunt this part and you're going to hunt that part, and if you have to work, I'll call someone else and we'll hunt it. And it just came down to like, well, that's funny because that was never what you were going to do with your target buck. Do you know what I mean?
Woo!
So there was a lot of high tension in the household. But I mean, I can also see where he's coming from too. Like, he's dedicated his life to hunting, his whole life. Like, he didn't just start hunting at 29 and decide that's what he was going to do. He's been hunting for 29 years or such, so like, he's dedicated his entire life. So to see a deer of that caliber, and he's mastered mule deers, like, his mule deers are insane. So to get a buck, like a whitetail of that caliber would add to his hunting career. So I could totally see where he was coming from. Not only that, but he's taught me everything I know. So it was really hard for me to stand my ground and say, like, no, this is how it was last year and this is how it's going to be this year, to really put my foot down and stick up for myself and say, like, I also get a chance at this and this one's mine.
Yeah.
It took a lot, and, we came down to it, and there was a lot of choice words used at some points, and, some feelings were hurt, and we figured it out and made up over it. And he ended up getting a Boone and Crockett whitetail later that fall, or that winter, I guess, the same season. So we got his and her bucks for 2019, and it all ended up being a great year. But there was a lot of battles with hobo, with the animal itself, internally with myself and externally as well. But the fact that I get to, kick my feet up on the coffee table every morning and just enjoy a coffee with hobo is so cool. And that deer represents so much more to me than just a rack,
Absolutely. This is, man, it just like keeps going, the story here. It's unbelievable how all these parts played in, and that, like, just everything involved here is just crazy.
Yeah, and it's totally okay to be mad at each other. I know, in my experience, hunting partners, etc. I've been in just about yelling matches with people about what we should be doing, and I mean, Chase and I kind of ran into the same thing elk hunting a couple years ago with bow. Like, everybody has their own idea and their own instinct and where to go, and then something doesn't really work out, and you're like, damn it, why didn't we do it the way you wanted to do it, or why didn't we do it my way, or whatever, and it just goes back and forth. So and that's like part of the like the story, right? And it's part of the hunt. Like, nobody knows exactly what the animal's going to do. Nobody knows anything exactly, and it's all about just doing what you think is best. And yeah, that's super cool. I really enjoyed that story. Now that you have this deer, you said you have it mounted. What again did it score out to?
So for Pope and Young, it scores 233 and 2/8, and for the non-typical Northwestern free range whitetail for SCI is 246 and 2/8.
Wow, that's insane. And so what's the biggest difference there between the two scoring systems? Do you know offhand?
Yeah, so SCI goes by gross. Wait, is that the opposite? This is why I'm not an accountant. SCI goes off total inches, whereas Pope and Young deducts any like non-symmetry or
right, the obscurities, right? Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, when you look at hobo, like, his typical frame is only like 159 inches.
Yeah, man, he's got some junk.
Lots of junk.
Like 70 whatever inches of junk. Like, it's insane.
That's
awesome.
Insane.
I'll send you guys, after the podcast, I'll send you guys some pictures of what he looked like the year before.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
But yeah, so now you have this beautiful deer on the wall. Kind of the story's kind of concluding. What are some of the main, I wouldn't just say issues or backlash, but like some of some of the moments that you've encountered since this hunt? Like, has it given you more confidence as a new hunter? Do you think that you've gotten your, a more established position between maybe you and your partner when it comes to hunting? Like, have you reflected on any outcome since this harvest of a deer?
Absolutely. So I think that's kind of a daily thing, of the reflection as a hunter. And I encountered a lot after I harvested hobo from, friends maybe being negative about my harvest, or strangers, or friends of my partner. I've heard some really disgusting things said that I would hope that no man who has a daughter would ever have that said to their daughters. But they said some really vulgar things about stuff that should have been done to me in order for me to be allowed to harvest a buck of that caliber. And there's, some people say I don't deserve it. And, and then there's also just like your keyboard warrior saying like, oh, if I had $1 million, I could hunt on a farm too. And, and you can't please everybody, and you're never going to. I think you can tell, like, through the story here, that I know what that deer meant to me. I know what I put into that deer. I damn well deserved to harvest that deer after the work that I put in. And I think the reflection really comes down to the internal challenge of just doing my best and having that be okay. Challenge myself to be better every single day and go out there and do my best, and just having that be enough for me, because you're never going to please anyone ever. You're never going to please everybody all the time. And, you have to let that kind of stuff be water on a duck's back. But I definitely use it as motivation, because I am the kind of woman just like keep throwing fire at me, because my flame's getting bigger.
I love that mindset.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So certainly a very emotional and just record year for you last year, obviously. What are your plans for this coming season? You said you have an elk tag in your pocket, and obviously, I'm assuming you're going to be chasing some whitetail again. What are you thinking?
So I haven't slowed down at all. So as soon as I got the draw results for Saskatchewan, I got drawn for bull elk and mule deer. And I always kind of joke around when they say like, "Oh, you're ruined. What are you going to do next?" And I'm just like, on to the next species. I'm kind of holding true to that statement this year. So as soon as I got drawn, I went out the next day. Got on my app on my phone, started looking up landowners, getting permission, like literally the next day after the draw came out.
What app?
Looking up some land permission. I use iHunter.
Hey, shout out for iHunter.
iHunter, yeah, I love iHunter. But no, yeah, so I jumped on iHunter, started looking at landowners and locking in permission, and that's a full nother story already. So I've been scouting elk, I guess cows, since the middle of July, and I was just starting to see them shed some of the bulls shed their velvet and kind of start to herd up with the cows. And then I have a couple different herds that I'm looking at, and it was like within 3 days I had no elk, like not even just no bull elk, I just had no elk. And I knew that patterns were going to change coming closer to the rut, and I knew that patterns are going to change with harvest, with all of the farmers and stuff in the field. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like I've been getting up at 2:30 in the morning to get to where I need to be before sunrise to watch these elk, and I've been doing it for a month and a half, and now they're gone. So I gotta start all over again, and hunting season's in 15 days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, but yeah, so then I also got a mule deer tag, so whenever my daughter doesn't want to drive an hour with mom to spot elk until dark and then wake up at 3 a.m. and do it all over again, I just stick around kind of home where I got drawn for mule deer and go look for some mule deers, and putting out trail cameras and some baits for some whitetails. And yeah, just trying to, I feel like everything's coming so quick this year. Like I feel like I'm not prepared, because like I was so honed in on hobo last year, like I already knew what I was doing in the middle of July. Now I just feel like, what now?
Oh man, I was shooting my bow today, and I was doing a little broadhead tuning, and they're not exactly flying the as I'd like them to. And Jody said to me after a conversation, she's like, "Is this something you should have been doing like a little, like not today when elk's opening on Monday?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably should have been doing this a week or two ago," but." So
that's so funny. That's so funny that you say that, because there's a guy in Saskatoon. His name is Mike Kincaid, and he owns Kincaid Archery. And I got this tactical hybrid sight for my bow, and it's one that you can dial. So I got the 3 pins, and they're 20, 30, 40, and I can dial it up 50, 60, 70 and dial it up.
Nice.
And I can't get it dialed. I can't figure out past my 40 pin. So I called him and I was like, I am having a hell of a time with this. And I've like moved my pins and moved my sight and whatever. And I'm just like, can you meet up with me on Monday? And like our season opens Tuesday for mule deer. So I'm meeting him at 11 o'clock on Monday to go shoot my bow and get this figured out. But it's kind of like when I go bear hunting in the spring, like I'll take one shot before I leave bear camp. And if that shot's good, I don't shoot again. Yeah. I know my capabilities. If my bow is not in tune and it's not good, then I'm hooped no matter how many times I shoot that bow.
Yeah.
So I take that one shot before I leave camp for just a little bit of confidence boost, and out I go.
You know what? We sat down with a lady, April Willis. She's an avid hunter and also a physiotherapist, and she said the benefits of taking that one shot before you go out go much beyond just the psychological aspect of having the confidence of going out. It actually like activates those nerve receptor pathways and like warms them up. So if you do draw back and fire at an animal, that they're already warmed up, ready to go pretty much. So
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, little bit of info there for you.
So you got your elk and your mule deer tags this year. What else are you doing there? You do a little bit of work with Canada Hunts and Canadian Huntress?
Yeah, so something that's really cool, like I said, kind of at the beginning, is I got involved with a group to kind of bring more awareness, and just kind of a place to lean on for other women. So I got involved with a company called Canadian Hunters out of Ontario, and through them and with them, there's 3 other women in Ontario that we're going to put a show out on Canada Hunts on Wild TV called Canadian Huntress. With that, what we're hoping to do is kind of just to give the next generation of youth hunters and women, kind of someone to look to. Like there's Eva Shockey, and then, there's some new women faces that are starting to come to the forefront, but they all seem to hunt alone as women, and we want to show them that, you can make your tribe and you can hunt together as women, and it's okay. And also just show them how badass chicks can be out there in the field. Some people don't like the term huntress. Some people actually use it as a vulgar term to describe a woman who hunts with excessive amount of makeup and low cut shirts and short shorts, and that's fine. I mean, there's a derogatory form for just about every word in the English language, so whatever. But we just want to go out there and hunt our asses off, and we just happen to be women, and if we can change what people think about when they hear the term huntress, then that's what we're going to do. We just want to bring great hunts and great television to the next generation, and kind of make a path for those women who do want to start hunting in later life, like myself, and try to make community for those women to learn, to feel safe, to talk about, like their emotions when they're hunting, or maybe some of their fears, or to ask questions that they might feel stupid to asking a man whose answer might be, well, yeah, don't you know that already? Mostly because they probably don't have the answer themselves, but, just kind of give them that comfortable spot to be able to talk.
Oh man, that's awesome. I feel like you could wear whatever you want out in the field and nobody should care, because I know
Absolutely.
when elk camp rolls around, me and Sheldon are going to be rocking mustaches, and you know who doesn't like mustaches?
Jody.
That's right.
Everyone loves mustaches.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No, it is whatever, but I just mean, like, some people are like, oh, they just say like, oh, that huntress, and it's well, if she feels good hunting in makeup, then let her be.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Absolutely.
Why does it bother you?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you said, or you referenced to earlier, a lot of keyboard warriors, etc. So stay away from those negative comments, of course, but they're always there, it seems, with everything that we do outside. But trying to, we don't want to take up too much of your time, because to schedule this with you, I had to schedule around your elk hunting, your elk scouting. So I know you're probably itching to get out into the field. So what I'd like to do is maybe just wrap it up by some couple final thoughts. And I think, Chase, you probably have a few that you'd like to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of just dissecting things as we kind of speak about them throughout the podcast here, but just overall, I think your journey into the hunting world is just been a phenomenal story, and it's not, like I said, it's not your usual how people go about doing it, and it seems like it was a lot of self-taught, self-motivated, and maybe perseverance isn't the right word, but just the huge motivation to just teach and try and be better every time you go out and every time you do something, and that takes a lot. I know it takes a lot to step out that door and shoot the bow every day, and to try and learn and do things different. And like Sheldon and I said, we're still learning. We still don't know everything, and I think how just your hunting career here has been unfolding, I think, is unbelievable. You have a great attitude for what you're doing in the times we're in right now, and I think you're just doing a great
ambassador for the female hunters.
Exactly. Yes. Not only for female hunters, but just for everybody, like in the outdoor industry. Like, you're a great role model for people to follow, and you just have a kick-ass attitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, my final thought is going to be, I think, a little bit shorter, but just for the fact that I just got to mention one thing, is that I always think about, I've been thinking about this the entire time we've been talking about, like, how, we don't know everything yet. And I don't think as a hunter or as an outdoors person that you shouldn't know everything. And I relate it to my job. I'm a lineman, And when I was when I was going through my career as an apprentice, etc., I always found the most knowledgeable linemen were the ones that didn't know everything. And they always kind of mentioned that. It's like, well, man, I don't really know, but I'll do you one better and I'll find you the answer. And like, that's the big thing. When I was growing up through my career, I always thought, that's a good way to go through life, is like, you don't know everything. And even when you don't know, it's okay to just say, I don't know, but I'll help you out and I'll try to find an answer for you. And I think that goes a long way, and it goes like hand in hand with what I'm trying to reference with my job and with hunting. And throughout your whole conversation today, it's just like, man, it brought back so many memories of my first say hunt or my first kill, and doing the blood trail and all those emotions that you feel, and like having hunting partners with you, and the family and friends and everything that you've talked about today is just remarkable. And I'm super happy that we touched base and connected through, of course, Instagram, and that we got you on the podcast this afternoon. So thank you very much, Kassandra. If you have any more final thoughts, let's hear them.
I like you said, I hope that people can, hear my story and give them some encouragement or some enthusiasm to go back there, bring them back to their roots. Like I put out a couple magazine articles, one with North American Whitetail magazine and one with Big Buck magazine, and I had messages from people of all age ranges from all over the world tell me that they had a tear in their eye after, and it reminded them of just like what you said, and it's gonna make me cry again. It just, that feeling, I just wanted to get it into my story and have other people feel the exact same way, because man, if those aren't the reasons why you hunt, and if you're just out there to shoot stuff, like, you're in it for the wrong reasons, because it has so much more to offer, right to the core of who you are, of your being, of the soul. And I hope that I can inspire other people to look at what they're doing out in the field with their hunts and with their friends, and kind of reconnect with the root reason of why they wanted to start in the first place.
Awesome. Kassandra, if people want to check you out or check out your show coming out, where can they have a look for it?
So you can follow me on my Instagram page. It's Sask_Artemis. Also, you can look up the Canada Hunts TV page on Instagram, so just at Canada Hunts TV. And there's also stuff on at wild_TV as well.
Awesome.
Oh, and you can also look up, there's one more, at Canadian Huntress as well. There's lots of good content on there of what the brand is doing and how to become a part of that.
Awesome. We'll toss all those links up in our bio in the description here too, so easy follow for people to check them out.
Great. Thank you guys so much.
Sheldon,
right on. Thanks.
Anything else, buddy?
Oh, man. Thanks, Kassandra, for coming on. This was, a pleasure. Good luck this fall, and we'll be in touch. I hope to get you back on the podcast in the near future.
Yeah, you guys, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. You have now punched my podcast tag, so that's marked off my to-do list.
Right
but
on.
hopefully I got a cool story for you guys after this fall.
Oh, right on. That'd be perfect. Right on. Well, good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening in, folks, to another great episode. We hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. Pretty cool, man. Quite the experience.
It's really sweet when you can kind of entire story kind of in depth, like a conversation around that campfire, kind of the stuff that we always kind of shoot for. But it was great to hear it. That's for sure. Just to carry on though, thanks everyone again for listening. But we got to give you guys a huge thanks to anyone that's listened to any prior episodes or following along every 10 days we release a podcast. We've got quite a few listeners, quite a few followers, and all that stuff, and we really appreciate each and every one of you. If you're looking to support us in any way possible, you can do it as free as commenting or rating us on iTunes or Podbean or Spotify. And if you're looking to maybe get into some hunting gear, we've got some hunting hats and toques available on our store right now. We got the blaze orange for rifle type hunters, and we also got camo in the toques and the hats. So for anybody that is duck hunting or archery, and then we got some awesome sweaters. We got those camo panoramic hoodies, and then we got the tan goose hoodies, and then the white goose hoodies for goose hunting, or if you want to use them for like coyote hunting or whatever it is. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff in our store. Go check it out. Oh, and our buffs. We have really wicked buffs right now. You can kind of use them as a face mask as well. So I've been using them in my day-to-day, and it's really easy to use them when I'm not wearing it, or I drive whenever. I just roll it up on my arm, and it's always there with me. So I never forget it walking into a store kind of idea. So if you're looking for those are in the store as well. And there's actually a sale on them too, isn't there, Chase?
Yeah, you can get those. You can pick those up for 1 for $23, 2 for $42, or 3 for $60. And one thing you did forget to mention is our brand new tees that hit the shelves. We have a red and a dawn colored goose logo t-shirts up, and they are definitely the comfiest t-shirts I've ever worn in my life, and they're pretty cool, so check them out. And just to correct you here for a moment, I don't think our toques are up on the store right now, but they will be very soon.
No, sorry. They I just got the phone call today that they're done, so I'll have them Friday. So if anybody's wanting them, by the time this launches, what's this gonna be, Thursday? If they'll be we can put them on the store, whatever, but shipping won't be for a few days yet.
Yeah. If you guys are interested, drop us a line though, and we'll certainly let you know when they're up and ready to roll.
Oh, and if you're going to correct me when I'm wrong, I'm going to correct you when you're wrong. In this episode, in our last episode, you said that hunting started September 1st for archery when it was August 31st. Boom.
Yeah. I told, man, I got those dates messed up, and a couple whoopsies there, but it's all good.
Yeah. I bet you a few people are listening and was like, no. And you're like, right? And I'm like, yep.
Oh, good times.
Right on. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks, guys.